And we are live on Rockfin, I believe. I'm going to wait a second here until I see that red light pop up and I can hit the go live button. I know sometimes there's a bit of a delay, but we have a little bit of a surprise show planned today that I think you guys are going to enjoy. All right, there we go. All right, let's get this intro going here. And by intro, I mean a musicless intro because it's just me and a guest today. So the world's a crazy place right now. Our government's top priority domestically appears to be silencing dissidents, while internationally, the goal seems to be to trigger World War III. And if the threat of global war wasn't stressful enough already, the culture war continues to wage here at home. Gender identity, critical race theory, competing definitions of wokeness. There's no shortage of issues that the powers that be can use to divide and rule us. In such a connected world where all this stuff is in our face constantly, this can be very overwhelming, disempowering, and really just bum people out. It's like the perfect time to be blackpilled in the world right now, which is why today I have a great guest on who is going to talk about some more hopeful, empowering things that we can all do in the world that just doesn't get attention in the media, but should get a lot more attention. Guys hosting a festival, do-it-yourself festival here in Georgia called The Great Create. Welcome back to the show, filmmaker, host of Liberty Libations podcast, and now festival organizer, and just dude who knows how to get stuff done, Jake Green. Welcome back to the show. Jake, how's it going?
Great. What an intro.
Thank you, man. I really wanted to, I'm impressed by the work that you do, and I want to really help people see that I think that your ability to get stuff done in a world right now where people can just feel stuck just by the circumstances and the way that they're told the world is. And I think that you can help them see like a different perspective on the world. So just tell us about who you are and about the upcoming festival, The Great Create.
Yeah, man. I'm a filmmaker. I work a lot with the Libertarian Party of Georgia. I run both of our podcasts, Liberty Libations and the Free Georgia podcast. And we decided, so every year there's a convention, libertarian convention in each state. Libertarian Party puts it on, and generally they're really good for libertarians and libertarians only. And they're kind of boring. It's exhausting to go to. It's a lot of business stuff. It's a lot of like inside baseball, like behind the scenes stuff that normal people aren't going to want to.
Right. And that's a challenge with the Libertarian Party is getting over that and connecting to a broader audience.
Exactly. So our director of marketing, Elizabeth Melton, decided this year that we're going to try something new. And we're going to try to basically put on a festival, something where anybody who has any interest in a whole bunch of different things can come in and feel at home and feel welcome and learn a bunch of stuff. So we for our vendors this year, we invited a whole bunch of folks who specialize in like self-sufficiency and self-sustaining and building new skills. So we have just a slew of different folks who can offer just a bunch of different ways to enhance your personal life and allow you to become more reliant on yourself and your immediate community rather than reliant on, whatever the government decides to do today or tomorrow or 10 years in the future.
Right. Yeah. So a lot of people, they've been getting storable food. Crypto is something that some people have gotten into. I know some people have backed away from it because of what's been going on lately. All of the uncertainty, it can feel like a day. What if they shut off the grid? They flip the switch. I'm helpless. You guys are like, this festival is like, no, you're not.
Yes.
Here's why. So what are you most excited about?
Man, there are just a whole bunch of different things on here. What I'm trying to get into recently is 3D printing. So Nick Soselsky and a couple other folks are doing a 3D printing workshop, basically, and giving you like an intro to 3D printing, which I've not gotten into yet, sadly. Very annoyed at myself for not learning that years ago. But it's just a lot when you're doing a whole bunch of stuff. Learning a new skill can take quite a while and a lot of your time. So
yeah, it's painful. It's like physically painful. As Aristotle talking about the pain in learning, it's you're creating these new nodes in your brain, which causes like actual pain and is a deterrence to it. But you keep repeating it. But 3D printing, I saw a guy at a Halloween party this past year, and people were asking about each other's costumes and stuff, and he goes, "Yeah, I 3D printed my whole costume," and I was like, "What?" and he started explaining, how he did it, which I didn't understand it at all. What kind of application do you see that having and for this idea of self-sustainability?
Man, you can't, like, for me and my wife, we build a whole bunch of stuff in our house and we have to repair a whole bunch of stuff. We don't really call a handyman unless we absolutely have to, and it's something that I literally cannot figure out how to do. So for us, it's a lot of like little parts replacements, like, the little tab on your dishwasher breaks, print a new one, pop it in there. You don't have to order one and, wait weeks to get it. So it for us, it's a lot of like maintenance stuff. And then
Cool.
eventually, I'm sure once I get the hang of it, I'll be able to build, a whole bunch of different
Try
things.
print a new arm if something happens, a new organ.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm sure the tech will get there eventually. You can just print organs at home.
Absolutely, I've seen some of the research where they're trying to do that. I'm sure that they've done some very twisted experiments about it somewhere.
I'm sure
I,
they have.
I'm looking at some of the themes here,
Hmm.
and going to be building community. You have speakers, there's going to be entertainment, parallel institutions. Tell me a little bit about the parallel institutions angle.
Yeah. So things like things other than like Rumble. I mean, things other than like YouTube, where you can have streaming platforms like Rumble and Odyssey, and there are payment processors that are breaking off from the regular, like Stripe and
Yeah,
all that kind of stuff. Visa, everything that is more regulated by the government and way more under scrutiny more often. So there's a bunch of just different platforms, different ways of living that are outside of what you would consider, I guess, what the institutional things bring you is convenience and efficiency. Um,
right. Yeah.
yeah, which is really hard to push up against.
Yeah, it is.
It's really hard to get people to be a little do things a little less more like a less convenient and a little less efficient just to be a little more independent.
Right. We were talking about Rumble before the show, how it's
Yeah.
it's a great platform, but there are, some hangups. Like you got to put the video up to do the live stream. You can only do it a certain period of time in advance, which can deter people. Like I don't set up a stream on Rumble all the time just because it becomes a bit of a hassle. But the more you get your videos kicked off YouTube and you get strikes, the less you're concerned about those obstacles.
Yes, 100%. And so, yeah, like for me, the most frustrating one so far has been Odyssey. Like, I love the platform, I love the look of it, but you can only upload certain megabytes per second, which I know we're in the weeds, but like, man, it is a frustrating platform at times, but it's a great
Totally.
idea.
Yeah. I'm glad it's built up some momentum, and hopefully it will continue. What about the seed swap I see here on the Great Create website?
Man, that is the one I do not know much about. No one's told me about it. I don't know who to contact as far because I didn't contact most of these people. I've done a few podcasts like Dave Miller, Edgar Mills, Kristen Hammock, a few others. I've done podcasts with them. But Seed Swap, somebody else signed that vendor, and I don't know who to contact for Seed Swap.
It's interesting. It sounds like one of those Christmas parties where you swap presents. Except this is like when the shit hits the fan. These are the seeds you're gonna have.
Yeah.
You get them at the
Exactly.
DIY, the Great Create. So, how would you, or what would you recommend to people? We were talking a little bit a moment ago. People feeling stuck, like they just can't get out from underneath it and get action going on things they want to do because whether it's work, bills, whatever's going on. You don't have that problem. You've made that documentary, Divide and what's it called? How to take back freedom.
Basically, how the powerful steal more power.
That's right. Yeah, I watched it. It's such a great documentary, and you pretty much you contact Shane Hazel and pitch it to him, and you did like all of that mostly yourself with a small crew, low budget, and it's a fantastic film. I believe it's on Amazon. It got picked up on Amazon, didn't it?
Yes,
I
it
mean
did.
that's an impressive thing to do. People don't realize how difficult it is to make a movie. I mean, it's really hard. There's so many things that could go wrong. You have the podcast you do. You have a couple podcasts now. You're working on this. You have the Libertarian Party stuff that you do. What advice would you give to people to just start getting stuff done?
Man, that's a tough one. My whole life I've kind of been outside the norm, just as far as not wanting to conform to anything. And so you kind of are stuck with having to learn a whole bunch of skills that you didn't have because you don't want to rely on other people.
Right.
Like, as far as I can tell from people I've been hanging out with for the last couple of years, you just got to start with one thing and just be persistent on that one thing. So like me and my wife didn't have just started cold plunging every single day.
What
And
is?
so,
Oh, that's like what's the guy's name? I can't remember the guy's name.
oh, Wim Hof.
Yes, that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So we have a cold plunge out back now, and it takes a whole bunch of mental effort to get up
Dude.
and get in the freaking cold plunge.
Yeah.
But if you just say, okay, I'm going to do this for 30 days, 60 days, like just one thing, you don't have to change everything. Just figure out one thing that you think is achievable for the next 60 days and just do it every single day, whether it's, 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You don't have to commit a ton of
Yeah.
time to it. Just dedicate yourself to just commit to doing something one time a day for 2 or 3 months. And man,
Right.
the payoff in that mentally is a lot.
Yeah, you don't have to do it all at one time, and it breaks day by day. It makes it achievable. I think we see these things that we want to do sometimes, and it seems just a huge task to do it. But when we look at it like that, it can be broken down into something that we can do. In fact, I think that they probably want people to feel like things aren't achievable, and they want them to seem overwhelming, so that they don't. When I say they, I mean just people who are in power and control.
100%. You're completely right. Like if someone were just to be like, I want to make a movie, and you think about every single thing that has to go into that movie, you're never going to start.
Ever. No.
All you have to do is make that first connection. Like with me and Shane, all I did was send him a tweet. I just messaged him on Twitter. So just make that first step, and that can go a long way. And then you'll get an idea the next time. You'll get an idea the next, and it just keeps snowballing from there.
Totally. I've done similar stuff where I've gotten some work where I was just like, I'm going to reach out to somebody because I think that we could work together and do something cool. And doesn't always work, but it's worked far more times than I thought it would have. I think sometimes people might be like, I don't know what to say, or they would never respond to me if they were reaching out to somebody that might have had a big platform or something. But you'd be surprised sometimes what response you could get and what people are willing to do if you just tell them what your thoughts are and how you think that you could work together in a beneficial way for both of you and for whatever causes you guys are after. So I encourage that all the time, man. Like when people talk about getting jobs and stuff, of course, it's different now than when I was out applying for jobs years ago. Like now it's just almost like AI just screens all your resumes and stuff like that. And it's like a computer deciding it. I used to be anti all of the requirements. I'm like, if you want to get a job or you want to do something that it doesn't matter if it's available, if it's like, help wanted type thing, you just find companies and stuff that you want to work with and find out who to contact and don't send them a resume and just like leave it up to it this passive way. Because if you're following this checklist of things that determine, it's inflexible that determine whether or not you're qualified or not, and you don't have the same like educational credentials or whatever or experience as everybody else, then by following that structure, you are automatically eliminating yourself by showing that you're not good enough. So screw that, because it's just arbitrary. They're just trying to find the person who can help them the most. So make that easy for them by specifically communicating what you can do and in what way, and just going to them directly. And that worked for me like a whole bunch. I got jobs that I was completely unqualified for, in a sense that I didn't have the educational experience. I could do it, but my experience was just different. And I applied like my background in comedy and entertainment to what they were doing, and the response I got from that versus sending in actual job resumes was like 1,000% more responses. And once you free yourself from having to follow those rules, you're like, I can do anything.
Oh, absolutely. People want to work with people that they get along with. Like, if you just send a resume, that means absolutely nothing to them. They're just checking off little boxes. If you show if you show up or call or what, like some personal communication, you're way more likely to get the job, get whatever you're going for. Like people want to work with people that are agreeable and they get along with, and everybody can continue to work. You don't want to
just be cool.
Exactly.
Yeah, don't be a dick. Right. It's amazing how that philosophy is just kind of out the window right now with the people being conditioned to be outraged, because the people who are the most outraged get the most attention by the media, get the most tweets and likes, and it sucks. Nobody wants to freaking work with somebody who at any moment they're worried is gonna file a complaint with some organization about, you looked at me wrong, you're harassing me. I know people who are in that situation who, unfortunately, they have worked with people who've been bitten by that kind of woke disease where they did absolutely nothing wrong. It's totally a person exploiting it. And they've had to get like lawyers and stuff involved, because it's unbelievable how bold people are in thinking that they can just say, you did me wrong because I fit a category and I'm going to try to ruin your life for it. And it's nuts, man. Nobody wants to hire a person like that.
No, it's, I don't know how it started, but we've become a very narcissistic, selfish kind of country, just on the individual level. And not everybody, like there are tons of great people out there, but if you're dealing with folks online, it's rough to see the white, get white pilled.
Right. I think people, it's just, I have to do it all the time. Step back and remind myself that online and what the media projects is not at all what reality is. When you go out and talk to people and like live in person and stuff, you realize that they don't highlight what America really is. They only highlight the extremes of it, which it does kind of manifest in certain areas, but it's not reality. They want it to be, because it's like, I loved when we first met and I saw your documentary. I love the title. I love the concept of it, because I've always been a big fan of highlighting the divide and rule strategy that has been used to turn society against each other and make people look away from these elites who are pulling all the strings. It's such an effective tactic. Like, you can be aware of it, and you can even know you're being emotionally pulled one way or another, and still have a hard time stopping yourself from doing that. But I think the more we bring those techniques out into the open, the more empowered people are. That's always been my philosophy. The more we can be aware of the propaganda strategies and tactics people use, the better we can overcome them, and the more we can start to kind of connect. And as we connect with each other and stop fighting and look towards them, they're going to be fucking terrified, man.
Yeah. And they're trying their best to keep that from happening. Like, the amount of times that I was told over the past 3 years, don't do your own research, or you're an idiot for doing your own research.
Man.
It's bananas. Like, the number of people that are completely propagandized that will say to your face, you don't know what you're talking about. That is misinformation or disinformation or some BS, when I literally have the proof right in front of their face.
They will look at it.
It's astounding. They'll just turn away.
And the extraordinary thing is, media literacy, as they talk about it in the news, what they teach is they teach people in those situations you just described to turn their head away, not even engage in the content of what's being said, because it could be a virus that you might unintentionally spread if you allow it to get into your head. They compare it to like COVID and the pandemic, and they call it attitudinal inoculation. Wow. And they're like, you should only determine like what information you look at based on if the source giving you the information is an authoritative source. So that is what media literacy is teaching people, not to think, to trust the New York Times or whatever. It's just nuts, man. And they call it critical. It's not critical thinking.
No.
And they roll kids out to teach these videos of it too. It's just it's pretty awful, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's terrible. That is, what was you just called it something? Inoculation?
Attitudinal inoculation is one thing that they call it.
That's terrifying.
I know, it's awful. There's a paper they wrote on it. I think it was published like last year by Stanford Research Institute, and it's combined with the pre-bunking stuff, and another one is truth sandwich. So all of those, it's just,
God. I kind of want to make a documentary now called Attitudinal Inoculation.
It's a good name, right? It's totally a good name. So what are some of I'm looking at the speakers and the workshops, but I see you have Derek Bros is going to be there speaking. He's a big name in the independent media community. He's done a lot of great work. And you have Reed Coverdale, Shane Hazel is going to be there. You got a really good lineup that is going to be rolling out. You're going to have some entertainment, some comedy. I think Adam Nutter's going to be there. He's been on the show. He's a really funny guy. And what about this create section? We have create new ideas and create culture. What's the philosophy behind that you guys are going to be talking about?
We outside of the Republican and Democratic Party, where most people, I guess, identify, we're trying to create our own type of media, like our own section of culture where people can come and learn completely different things than what they're taught in the mainstream or in the corporate press or whatever. And so the Free Georgia podcast, we started that. I guess technically it was started a couple years ago, but I took it over and rebranded it last year. And I try to highlight a bunch of stuff around Georgia, like complaints from citizens about, police, city council, that kind of thing. I've been highlighting a bunch of the people who are coming to the Great Create, talking about their businesses and how they help people become a little more self-sustainable. And with like the create culture part, like all these comedians, Amanda Miller, she's got a great story. She is Daywalker Comedy. If you want to go find her on YouTube, she's got a crazy story. She lived in LA, saw that things were not going to go how she thought they were going to go. Moved here. She still is uncomfortable broadcasting that she is Daywalker Comedy because she thinks that she'll end up getting canceled because she's a pretty big voice actor.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so she's going to be there doing some comedy.
She thinks she'd get canceled by progressive left. Okay, that's
because she works in Hollywood.
That's so interesting to me. We both have worked in the entertainment industry. A lot of my friends are in the closet about their political beliefs as well, and I tell them, I'm like, look, dude, there's like this whole other sect of society that doesn't have any entertainment made for them. Yep. Which is why Greg Gutfield is number one at late night, who's not even a comedy show, because they're craving something. I'm like, just fucking embrace what you want to do and stop trying to cater to people who at any moment, if you say or do the wrong thing, will try and cancel you for something stupid.
Yep. Fear is a powerful tool, man.
Absolutely.
That's how you control masses of people, is by instilling in them fear. And the number of people that are stuck in like the Hollywood system who have completely opposite views of what the majority of people in that system have. And they just don't feel like they can speak what they actually think because they'll never work again. This is why like Daily Wire, Daily Wire broke off and started their own production company and started making movies.
Timcast, a little bit of that too. I know people they have their thoughts on both of those organizations, but what they're doing, it's good that that's happening.
Yes.
And if you don't like their philosophy or whatever, anybody can do that. Not at the scale with financially that they can, but the power to do that does rest in your hands. Like one of my friends, I'm like, dude, just find a list of companies. It was a little bit easier to do this maybe a year and a half ago. Find a list of companies that openly are like, we don't care if you wear a mask or we have no vaccine, which is whatever. Because I'm like, those people align with the way that you see the world. So be like, hey, I love what you're doing. I love this. I think we should work together about something. Make a list of those companies. And those are the people that are going to embrace you. You don't have to walk on eggshells trying to, hope that they don't ask for a vaccination status or hope that they don't do something weird and try to hashtag me to you for saying hi to them the wrong way.
Right. No, exactly. And what drives me crazy is when people like, if you don't agree with me on 100%, then I can't be friends
right.
And if I don't know if you were aware, but a few weeks ago there was a anti-war rally in DC, Rage Against the War Machine.
I think I did see something about that.
The Libertarian Party came together with the freaking Communist Party to put on an anti-war rally. It was unbelievable. That's what we need. You need to get together on the biggest issues you have and actually push those issues into the forefront. Right.
Don't let one toxic issue that the media pushes on you poison the well and make you hate the other people. The way that we look at quote the other side when that happens and react to them is we're reacting to the stereotype of those people, of those groups that are propagated by the media, which is not who they are individually. We're not listening to them at a personal level, and we're not reacting to the uniqueness of them. Because if we actually did that, then we would come together, we would grow, we would find common ground, but nobody's actually listening to anyone else when they're emotionally triggered in a tribal way. It's those stereotypes driving everything.
Yes.
How can people get tickets to this?
Man, go to thegreatcreate.org. Tickets, if you have kids, 16 and under is free. I believe tickets are only $42. There's a link on the homepage for $42. If you want to be a vendor, we have a whole bunch of vendors, and we're accepting vendors, I believe, up until the day before the festival. So it's $62. It's $20 extra to be a vendor. You can sell whatever you want. We're trying to make this as free and open as possible without, getting shut down.
Yeah.
So, we've got a beer maker there. He's going to be giving out samples. We've got all sorts of stuff happening.
That's cool.
I remember last year, one guy showed up and just had edibles and joints and was just passing them out. Like it was an interesting time, and cops were around and they did absolutely nothing. It was bizarre.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I have no idea how he got away with it.
I wonder who that first person I guess he was, since he passed them out. I kind of be like, dude, let me see the cop take one first, then maybe I'm all in.
Yeah, it was interesting. We were all just waiting for that moment.
That's funny, dude.
Arrested, but he never did.
A mass arrest of people on edibles. And this is in Perry, Georgia, from May 12th to May 14th at Cherokee Pines. Right, that's where the Georgia National Fair is in Perry, Georgia. They have a lot of great open land there. Yeah, it's one of the best fairs you'll ever go to.
Nice. Yeah, Cherokee Pines. I believe it's an old like golf club, golf resort, and we're taking it over for the weekend. And to be clear, May 12th and 13th are the festival days, and the 14th is business day.
That's when you get down to business.
Yeah, that's when if you have decided to join the Libertarian Party, that's when you can come into business and vote on all sorts of stuff. But yeah, we've just put the schedule up this past week. We have, let's see, we're showing three feature films, two of which are mine, and then we're doing a block of short films.
Awesome.
So we haven't released which short films they are, but I have it narrowed down to about 7 or 8, and I gotta pick 6 of them, I think.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What is that's really cool, because filmmakers, if they know about this, that encourages them to make a film that doesn't have to align to the standards of Hollywood. People are stuck in that Hollywood model, which it's kind of dead. I mean, it still has a lot of money to it, but there's other opportunities. What's the other film that you're doing? I know you have Divide and Dominate.
Yeah, I've got Endure Lebanon. That was my first documentary. I follow a music producer who travels to different parts of the world and makes albums with people who've been affected by some pretty terrible things.
Yeah.
So we went to Lebanon, where he found a whole bunch of Syrian refugees who have
went over there?
Yeah. They've gone through, man, the album that came from that movie is unreal.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
really such an interesting idea.
Heartfelt stuff. And so that's actually my next film is like a follow-up to that one. It'll be the next iteration. We're doing a whole series.
How'd you get involved with that one?
Well, so I've actually known the music producer since I was 6 years old. So we're buddies. We go on a trip every year together. And he went to the music world and I went to the film world. So he wanted to start doing this, and I said, I want to film it. He actually invited me along to help him with the recording of music and everything. And I said, no, I'm going to film you struggling to record everything by yourself. So
yeah, that's the cool part, is figuring that process of creating. I think that's what a lot of people are interested in. We see the final products of things, but it's getting to that. It's not, you don't just wake up one day and put together an album. It takes a lot of hard work, just like anything else. And some of the schedule here, like the situational awareness thing, piques my interest anyway. I love reading
Yes.
documents from on the DOJ's website, the manuals that talk about, psychological warfare and situational awareness
Yeah.
training, stuff like that. And
Do you know Edgar Mills?
I do not know him. So
Dude, you should have him on the show.
Yeah.
He's a great guest. He was on the Free Georgia podcast. He
Yeah.
offers some great stuff. He does a lot of firearms training. He was a Green Beret.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
And he does some like survivalist training as well.
Yeah, dude. I love stuff. Like if I had enough money to just not have to do anything at all, I would just like want to turn myself into a weapon, like Jack Bauer.
Yes, that sounds great.
Yeah.
I would totally do that. That's like a childhood dream right there.
Yeah. Right. You got Mushrooms 101.
Dude, the amount of nerding out that me and my wife have done on mushrooms for the past 2 months isn't like she made us join the Mushroom Club of Georgia, which is a thing. And it's like a big thing. Like they go on walks they go foraging for mushrooms every other week in the woods. And like the number of mushrooms that are medicinal and edible just in your backyard it's insane. It's insane how much food you walk past every single day. Just there on the ground for free.
I'm always terrified that I'm going to pick the wrong one.
Yeah. Oh, you really need to identify it. That's for sure. Like if you don't have a really specific identification of that mushroom, don't eat it.
Right.
I would not advise just eating a random mushroom. That's a bad idea.
I remember when I was younger and it had rained or something, and I went outside at my parents' house and all these mushrooms were there, and I was like, free drugs everywhere. Not exactly.
Not exactly that. If they're growing out of cow shit, then yeah, probably.
Yeah. Board game presentation. You know anything about that?
I don't know anything about that one, but I'm super interested in that. I play Catan pretty religiously. So I'm a huge fan of board games.
Yeah.
The Goat Dairies, Kristen Hammock had her on the Free Georgia podcast. Her farm, she makes goat cheese, goat milk, all sorts of stuff with goats who are hysterical. Like goats are just funny animals, man.
Yeah. I watch them on Instagram every now and then.
Yeah. They're ridiculous. They make no sense.
Some of them are friends with dogs too. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. And man, we just have so many really cool people showing up to this thing. I interviewed Dave Miller, who's doing the first aid training, and me and my wife are going to take the actual like trauma course that he's offering.
That's awesome. What does that involve? Like CPR, stuff like that?
CPR is the like basic component, but like applying tourniquets, what to do, like how to like, what's the one where you stick something down somebody's throat to help them breathe?
Intubate?
Yes, stuff like that. And so any type of heavy trauma, basically
there it is,
enough to quell what's happening so that a paramedic could actually get there.
And that's such an important skill, man. I mean, I want to go to that now. But my mom, she had an illness for many, many years, and there was a ton of occasions where I find myself having to call 911 in the middle of the night. And it's my dad, he knew a lot of what to do just because we had learned over the years. But it's like the first times you get in situations like that, it's just a helpless feeling. Yes. I mean, there's like nothing you can do unless you have some sort of training or experience with it. So it's just like everything that you would need, as you mentioned earlier, when you're thinking about what to do when the shit hits the fan. Mm-hmm. All of these things. These are the things at this festival that you do when the shit hits the fan.
Yes. And that guy right there, King Randall, that guy is amazing. When he was 18 or 19, he decided the school system sucks. And
yeah, he's right.
Created his own school, his own boarding school for boys.
He's like, fuck it, I'm going to make my own school.
Yep. And his goal is to, in his town, have public school eradicated within the next 10 years.
That's awesome, dude. And I'm guessing, are these like students who've been through his program?
Let's see. I don't know. Suzanne Shepard is not. Maxine is actually a member of LP Georgia. She works a lot behind the scenes. With
oh,
LP
very
Georgia,
cool.
So she'll be talking on that panel as well.
Yeah, firearms, community exchange systems, citizen journalism. You guys got everything covered here. I would recommend checking it out if you're in Georgia for sure. And if you're not, maybe next year you make plans to be here because this is great stuff here, man. This is like it's everything you need. So congratulations on putting that together. It's impressive. I'm glad you're doing all that good work.
Heck yeah, man. We appreciate that.
Anything else you want to tell people about the Great Crate? I have a few more things I want to talk to you about, but did I forget anything? I want to make sure people get the full knowledge they need.
I don't think you forgot anything. One of the things we're definitely wanting to highlight, it's the first on the list, is cryptocurrency, specifically Bitcoin. I know Shane Hazel
Mhm.
talks about that a lot. He just
Yeah.
started a company called the Bitcoin Maximalist, and it's just all about education and getting people educated on Bitcoin. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and so that's a big one. And again, this is like our pilot year. We've never done something like this before. So the fact that we're able to get all these people there the first year just means the next few years are going to be pretty stellar. We're thinking attendance is going to be pretty good this year, which only means it's going to grow next year if we put on a good show, which we are. So yeah, I think it's going to be a great time. My wife and I are going to be there all weekend. We're going to be showcasing our other company, which is called Vanarchy. Where we turn vans and buses and stuff into tiny homes for folks. So
That's cool, dude.
yeah,
Do you have one of those?
yeah, we'll be showing it there.
Yeah, awesome, man.
Yeah.
So what's it like? How big is it?
So like Sprinter van, you can get a big one. Big is very relative. So like
Right.
150 square feet, basically. But we've got like in the van, we've got a full, like we've got a fridge, toilet, shower, stovetop, we've storage, bed, table. Like it's yeah, that's the one we're showing at the festival. It's gonna be pretty great.
That's crazy, man. I didn't realize that you could survive in this world without having 3 bedrooms and a finished basement.
Who knew? Yeah, we're not taught that.
That's great, man. You have so many skills that are useful. And
Yeah, I can thank my dad and granddad for that one because
Yeah.
they taught me carpentry from when I was, child.
that's cool. See, I've always admired woodworkers like that because it's the ability to craft something that looks so fine and precise.
Yeah, my buddy Chris, he works at a place called Barn Beautiful down in, where is he at? It's just southeast of Atlanta. Man, that dude is a craftsman. Like
Yeah.
I make stuff that's good and like looks fine, but if you were to really like zoom in and look at the details, you'd be like, Jake, this needs some work. His are like masterpieces.
I mean, I wouldn't. I'd be like, "Ah, you made that? It's amazing." Maybe.
Fair enough. Yeah, but Barn Beautiful, if you go check out their website and their store, man, they make some great stuff.
Yeah. Do you ever make stuff for films that you shoot, like stage or I did a production called Fun World where all of the weapons were futuristic, handcrafted.
Nice.
It was super cool.
That's cool. Yeah, we did make some things. We made some like landing zones for a film that's actually going to be at the festival as well. But I haven't shot much like narrative stuff recently. I've mainly done documentary stuff. So
Yeah.
it's been a while since I actually like directed actors and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, actors can be a little crazy sometimes, but
Little
also
acting.
it can be a whole lot of fun. Totally, dude. You went to SCAD, right?
Yeah, I went to SCAD in Savannah.
And do you work on a Tyler Perry show? Is that right? Or am I getting that wrong?
My wife does.
Okay,
She works
that's
for
right.
Tyler Perry quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
So, what about your podcast? I know you have been doing Liberty Libations, a new live stream. You've been doing, we got about 20 shows in or something like that.
Yeah, tonight will be number 22. It's a good time. We kind of solidified our core group of folks. At first it was just me and whoever else wanted to come on.
Right.
And I pick out 3 or 4 topics that I want to talk about, and man, we go off the deep end. Like
Yeah.
it's
a lot of fun.
It's very unstructured, and we talk about a whole bunch of stuff that isn't on the docket.
Yeah. I had a great time when I was on it with you. What's on your mind right now? I know you got that show tonight. So what topics in the news are piquing your interest the most?
We're going to be talking about Tucker and Don Lemon.
Don Lemon.
And
that's right.
yeah, and the pros and cons of that whole situation. We're going to talk about more bank collapses, which they're happening more and more, and some pretty dang big ones. I mean, the fact that the 7th, like one of the largest banks in the history of the world, collapsed, and it was only in the news for a week, is horrendous.
Yeah, let's get back to racial division and all the other stuff.
Yeah. Like, let's not worry about money and the economy and the thing that keeps all of us going. Like,
I just don't think people understand it well enough, and they don't position it in a way in the news to where it captures and engages people's attention because that's just not. They just want to do the culture war stuff all the time.
Well, economics is boring. I'm not going to lie. Like it's not the best book I've ever read on economics was Creature from Jekyll Island, and it was because he made it interesting.
Right. Yeah.
It's
a huge book too.
yeah. I had to listen to it. I can't read that whole thing. I don't have that kind of time.
Totally, dude. 10 years ago, I used to read all the time. Like I read so many books. Now I'm just like, unless I can read a book in like 10 minutes, it's hard. There's so much stimulation and they overwhelm us, which, there's a purposeful intent to some of that. We see the way they try and make people addicted to the social media and whatnot, which has its uses and also definitely has its bad side. But yeah, economics is super boring. I'm an economics major, and I don't understand economics. So, and I did good in it too, but I don't have a clue what's going on half the time when it comes to the economy.
There's so many people manipulating things behind the scenes. It's absurd.
Totally absurd. So I did a show on what I think's going on with Tucker the other day. You want me to tell you what I think's going on? You might have a similar thought about it. Everybody acted surprised about all that. It wasn't surprising about anything about that was not surprising to me because that was obviously going to happen because my thinking on it was like, I look at all of this stuff going on internationally, especially as through the Great Reset lens that we all talked about when, in 2020, when that first became popularized, that term. Yeah. And I can see where all of those things connect. Like it seemed very apparent to me back then that they want the U.S. to take a step back in the world stage, and they want to implement this system of control through ESG, through the global corporations and whatnot, like a social credit score. And they have to take these series of steps to make that happen. And we can see a lot of those steps, happening. And the Ukraine-Russia war was the first war of the Great Reset. And to me, I'm like, okay, this is obviously, I think, going to be what leads us to World War III. It just seems clear that that's what's going to happen. Yeah, totally. I think we really are too. And when you imagine, like maybe 6 months, a year from now, let's say we actually are like, okay, we're sending troops on the ground to Ukraine to fight against Russia or to Taiwan to fight against China. We are in open war with them. If that's the case, do you think it would be allowable to go on Fox News and question the multi-billion-dollar weapons packages that we send to Ukraine or to express any dissident opinions at all? No, absolutely not. They always censor dissident opinions leading up to a war. And so Tucker's what he was presenting, so Tucker started to sound like people like us. He took stuff that we talk about and put it on Fox News. Now, whether you think Tucker is like some sort of op or not, that's beside the point. But he gave a bigger platform to those perspectives. And now those perspectives are pretty much officially banned from those platforms, I believe, because they do not want people expressing them. They want to scare people into silence leading up to a war. I mean, they jail dissidents at wartime. There was a guy who ran for president in the 20s during World War I who was put in prison, and he ran from prison for president. He got like 1 million votes, and the reason that he was put in prison is because he was anti-war. Mm-hmm. It's a consistent pattern, and everybody has their explanations. I heard one, it was like, well, I think Tucker was fired because he was Murdoch's, the woman he was going to marry. He was her favorite host, and when they broke off their wedding engagement, he wanted to get back. Rupert Murdoch wanted to get back at that girl, and so she took away her favorite host. I'm like, I don't think that's the case. I don't think so.
That's
a little bit more than that.
I mean, he rakes in money for Fox News. Like that. Didn't they lose something like $1 billion the first day he got fired, or something like that?
Something like that.
They lost so much money. I saw so many people canceling their Fox accounts and all that crap because Tucker. And it's great. Like he's not great on everything, but he's definitely good on war right now.
Absolutely.
That's like the most important thing you can be good on at this moment.
Yeah. And that was the mismatch that you saw with Fox, because we would hear him say stuff. At least for me, I'd go, well, I can't believe he was allowed to say that on Fox News. And then all the people earlier in the day are all for aid to Ukraine, are all for all the stuff. And trying to figure out how they could allow both of those things on there was confusing. It's not anymore. I think they revealed themselves to be the controlled opposition that we've always known them to be. And, Tucker, my thing is just like always evaluate the content and the actions they're trying to encourage you to take connected to the content and what they're trying to make you believe. While the media is always like, just evaluate the source and only trust us as a source. So for people who are worried that Tucker could be some sort of even deep level controlled opposition for now because of his father's background being a high level propagandist and whatnot, I think you protect yourself from that simply by not allowing the fact that somebody says things that you like, and even if you badly want to believe that they are on your side, the way to make sure that they are is to continue to question the content that they put out there and just verify it. That's it. We don't have to trust 100% anybody.
Correct. Yeah, and absolutely. And it's absurd to think that, like, out of the however many hosts Fox News has, like, you can't have one that has a different opinion than all the others. Like, that's
right. Yeah, no, right.
Everybody has to say the same thing.
How that was a smear. It was like, well, Tucker says one thing in email and something very different to his audience, as though the job of a journalist is to only agree with the people they report on. That's not the job of a journalist. Like, you can be a journalist and not like someone, but also report truthful things about them. But they act like you have to love someone in order to say nice things about them. It's just so, it's not journalism. It's twisted propaganda that they're trying to normalize.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
I can't stand them.
It's disheartening.
It really is. But it's disheartening, but it's also empowering to recognize it because those barriers, it's like when I was talking about applying for jobs years ago, is I used to think you had to do it the other way. But once I realized that it was all bullshit, then it's freeing. And I look at the news in the same way. They try and create these limitations on what you believe about reality and what you think you can do. But once you realize it's all bullshit, then there are no limitations on what's possible. Yeah. So I have a question for you. I just saw this today. And you're a filmmaker.
Okay.
I love the movie White Men Can't Jump, the original one, my favorite movie probably of all time. Okay. I saw the trailer today for the reboot of White Men Can't Jump, which, yeah, God, I didn't
even know they were remaking it.
I heard that like maybe a year and a half ago that they were gonna reboot it, and I said that's really stupid. And then I didn't hear anything else about it, and I was just kind of hoping that it had faded away and never got produced. And then I saw the trailer today, and it is the most cringeworthy trailer for a movie that I've ever seen. It's obviously going to be a terrible cash grab reboot. There's nothing wrong with White Men Can't Jump, dude.
Why would you remake that movie?
I don't know. That's my question to you. As someone in the film industry, why are they rebooting the almost perfect movie of White Men Can't Jump?
Man, that is bizarre. With a rapper,
I know. Right?
Why? I don't understand. Get somebody who's like on Woody Harrelson's level if you're gonna do that. Like, that's absurd. Man, they're trying to replace Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes. No.
Dude, and they try and kind of like mimic some of the classic scenes from that movie in the trailer. Like, it's not going to be good when the trailer is filled with scenes of them doing exact parallels that are obvious call-outs to the original, except clearly a lot worse than the original. Are you? It's so bad, dude. It's so bad.
And it's all like polished and soap opera-y. It's really just, it looks terrible. It feels terrible. Yeah.
What are the your mama jokes going to be? Your mama's so fat, she should be on the cover of Sports Illustrated and worshipped? I mean, you can't even do the your mama jokes anymore.
You can't do any of the good stuff that they did in that movie.
No.
I never understood why they remake movies that are good. Like, I understand remaking a terrible movie. Like, what was that one with Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga? That singer one. Oh. Remember that one?
Yeah, I don't remember the name of it.
That was like the fourth time that movie was remade, and it's because it sucked the first three.
Nobody got it right the first few times. Yeah. Right. So a lot of people don't even realize they made the first few versions of it, so it's fine. But why a classic movie, and it hasn't even been that long,
I mean, we're on 30, what, 31
I guess it
years?
Has been. I guess it just feels like it hasn't been.
Yeah.
Because that movie was like my childhood. I loved it.
If you're going to remake something that was good, you have to make it almost completely different. Like a different concept. It's got to be slightly, like, pretty substantially different than what the original was. But most likely you're just going to butcher it and people are going to hate it.
They should have done? Absolutely. They should have had it be like a female focused, and it's a transgender woman who just dominates.
Dude,
And white men
pretty
can't
good
jump.
concept.
What? Yeah, there you go.
Can we make that movie?
Dude, I had some ideas presented to my friend that were like, dude, we can really make fun of some of this woke stuff. He didn't want to do them because everybody he knows that he works with would probably be mad at him. One of them was like, and this was weird, man, because this actually like happened, kind of. So I kind of felt bad, even though we didn't actually do it. But this kind of happened after I was talking about it. I was like, dude, he always wanted to play the Punisher. My friend did.
Okay.
And he's a great actor, a funny guy, and he has a production studio. And I was like, we should do a thing where you get to play the Punisher. And if have you seen the Punisher show on?
Oh yeah.
So you know the scene where Punisher goes in to it's like a pawn shop, and he's getting a gun that doesn't have any markings on it, and he's like, give me the camera footage too. And he gets the gun, the camera footage. He starts to walk out and leave. And as he's leaving, the sleazy pawn shop guy goes, "All right, pal, I've also got some videos of some girls, some of them as young as 12, you know." And Punisher stops, kind of turns his head. Then he goes and locks the door, turns around, and comes back to that guy. And that guy's like, "All right." And then Punisher pulls out. It implies that he's about to kill the guy for being a perv. And I'm like, we do that scene exactly, almost. Except as Punisher's walking away, Punisher, the guy goes, "All right, sir, we got videos of girls, some as young as 12. And then Punisher stops. He turns his head and he goes, "What did you say?" And he goes, "We got videos with girls, some as young as 12. And he goes, "No, the other thing." And the guy goes, "All right, sir." And he goes, "That's what I thought you said." Then he turns around and he says, "My name is Frank Castle, and my pronouns are they, them." And he murders the guy.
Dude, that's such a good scene. Yes, why don't you make that scene? That's great.
People will be outraged by that if we made that scene.
Get together with Daywalker Comedy. She'd do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like stuff like that, but
yeah, I mean, that'd be hilarious. That's so funny. That's such a good, like, turn. Like you wouldn't be expecting it. People know that scene because that was a good scene. Anybody who's watched The Punisher knows that. Like that would be that's a really good twist right at the end. I love that.
Yeah, let's do it, dude. Let's give a little bit of time for some of that. Freaking see, every time you want to talk or joke about anything, then some sort of mass shooting happens, and it's like, well, I guess I can't talk about that anymore for a little while.
Man, yeah, mass shootings. The one that they're not covering. Have you seen that one in Alabama?
I don't know.
Shot up a Sweet 16 birthday party.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. Not one word in the media, but I wonder why that is.
It's so, I mean, it's not arbitrary. They serve a narrative, the ones they select, but the way people focus their outrage onto just what the one the media tells them to, and they just ignore all of the other ones. It's just such a demonstration of brainwashing. I saw Charles Barkley does NBA tonight. Have been watching basketball, the playoffs. Hawks got a big win the other night. And apparently Charles Barkley is going to be doing a show on CNN with Gayle King. And so they brought Gayle King onto NBA Tonight with Shaq and Kenny Smith and Ernie Johnson. And that's a show where there's a bunch of dudes joking around and, Barkley making fun of fat women and stuff like that, which I think is interesting that CNN's like, well, let's get Don Lemon out because he's a gay misogynist and bring in Charles Barkley, who's just hilarious about making fun of fat women all the time. I mean, I don't know if they know what they're getting into there, but
they don't.
Him and Gayle King, Barkley tells Shaq, he goes, "Well, I don't want our show, our CNN show, to be political." And I'm like, well, their show's launching in 2024, probably going to be the most divisive political presidential campaign ever. And they're going to be hard not to make it political. And then a little bit later, Kenny Smith goes, "Well, what's the show going to be like, Charles?" And after saying he doesn't want it to be political, Charles starts talking about all the mass shootings. And he's like citing these mass shootings, and only one of them was a mass shooting. All of the others were like individual shootings. And I'm like, God, Charles, I don't think you can riff there like you can here about mass shootings, dude.
That dude's all over the place, man. He did March Madness this year. They invited him to broadcast there and do the analyzing and stuff like that. And he was caught on camera like talking about how politicians are all idiots. They should all stay
Right.
out of our lives forever. And it's like,
Absolutely.
yeah, Barkley,
He says some
nailing
great
it.
stuff. Yeah,
I
sometimes.
know he's like all over the place though. It's like he just whatever comes in his head, he just says it.
And that's what I like about him. I mean, sometimes I disagree with some of the things he says, but
Yeah.
he seems to me to at least be a reasonable person and not afraid to say
hilarious.
what's on his mind, which means he probably won't last very long.
Yeah,
At
I met him once. That dude is massive.
He looks like he is,
His
dude.
hand just like enveloped mine in the handshake. It was really terrifying.
You don't realize how big NBA players are when you see them on TV because they're all massive. And it's like that one guy's really tiny, but then if you meet that one guy, he like towers over you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, Barkley is just a beast. Yeah,
I
and
mean-
he's hilarious too.
Yeah. I remember the first time I played a basketball game where there was a guy who was 7 feet tall on the other team.
Jeez.
And I dribbled up the court and I pulled up for a three. The guy was down by the goal on the block and somehow he blocked it. Like, how do you block a 3-pointer from the block, man?
Yeah,
You're 7 feet tall. That's how.
that's no good. I don't like playing 7-footers.
Yeah, I don't either. It's not easy. So, all right. Is there anything else you're working on you want to tell people about, or just anything that you want to let people?
Yeah, I'm working on. It's kind of a follow up. I'm continuing working with that music producer from Endure Lebanon. We're doing one with veterans this time. We couldn't travel outside of the U.S. During the lockdowns and everything, so we started shooting here in the States with veterans who've a lot of them have gone through some horrendous stuff, and I have mixed emotions on like their motivations for going to war and all that kind of stuff. But like, man, at the end of the day, the stuff they went through is pretty horrific. And
I mean, it
does
seems to
not-
change them.
Yeah.
Like,
It doesn't get highlighted enough, and like their story isn't told ever on like a personal enough level for people to really get it. There are a
Right.
few movies out there that are pretty decent at it, but like not a lot of people watch those movies. And so if you go to peacefulseaproductions.com, that's my website, and I release all my movies on there, and Endure Veterans will be coming out mid next year probably.
very cool, dude. Very cool. Yeah, veterans. Not all of them, obviously, but I've met a number of them who I was pleasantly surprised when I heard them talking. I'm like, they went to war for whatever reason, because the propaganda machine of recruiting people into the war with these basic appeals, which now they use these e-girls, these e-gamer girls that are really hot girls saying, come
Yes, they
fight in
do.
the war with me, like psychological warfare. Dudes show up to the war and they're like, where's the hot chick who recruited me? It's just a bunch of other dudes. And they hand them a gun while they're all angry. They are like, yeah, it was all BS. They're very awake to what happened, and they don't like it anymore. And my uncle, I remember the first time I talked to my uncle, he's a Vietnam vet, and he opened up one time to me about his thoughts on all that. And I was like, man, that's exactly what I believe. I had no idea.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
it
But
is
yeah,
crazy.
I can't. I would not want to go like. What a terrible thing, to have to be in that situation where you've been convinced that whoever it is you're fighting against is evil and inhumane enough that they need to be killed.
Yeah.
It's I don't like it at all. I'm very anti-war.
It's been happening throughout history, man. Like if there's someone in power, they find a way to convince people that other people deserve to die. And it's just
Sucks,
it's a terrible
dude.
thing. Yeah.
It sucked. I know I told you we get out of here under an hour. So one last thing. Thank you for coming on the show. What are your thoughts on all the AI business going on?
I think it's a useful tool that will probably be our downfall. I mean, we do trivia on Liberty Libations now, and I get all my questions from ChatGPT, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, I saw you post a chat GTP thing
it's
the other day.
great,
That's
man.
why I asked.
It's really interesting.
It's fun to mess with. Yeah.
It is fun to mess with. I never thought that like machines would replace artists, and now I am dead wrong. Like,
You think that's going to happen?
dude? You can go to some of these like AI artist websites, and they'll mock something up into like our Liberty Libations. Our logo is from a AI.
Dude, this image behind me is
Yeah.
Midjourney. I love going on Midjourney and trying. I'll make themed images for whatever it is I'm talking about,
Mhm.
and you can see what other people, if you don't do it in the direct message, you can see what other people are making too. And so other people will be like, let me see a beautiful sunset by a river with a quilt and a couple in love having a picnic. And I'm like, imagine Stacey Abrams and Brian Kemp humping on the steps of the Capitol in Georgia.
So people are getting a show with yours.
Yeah, I tried to make them as ridiculous as possible. In fact, I tweeted out a string of very, very kind of visually offensive ones of Joe Biden. It took me a while to figure out how to get it to put boobs on Joe Biden because it actually banned me for a little while the first few times I tried it. But I figured it out. So there's a very busty Joe Biden throughout my feed
You could
right
just
now.
use Bill Gates. He already has those.
That's true. Bill Gates does have Bill Gates like he's a little B cup there. He's developed quite nicely. Cornelius Wolfshirt says, looking forward to seeing the veteran movie. Very cool.
Heck yeah. Yeah, man, my job's going to be obsolete at some point because they have that video AI now that you can just type in exactly what you want in a scene.
Does it
and
work?
It'll just render it. I mean, it doesn't work very well now, but neither did the artistry stuff. The paintings didn't work well like a year and a half ago, but now they're amazing.
Right. Well, I think one of they are good, but people are going to eventually stop putting stuff online, you know, or they'll put it behind a paywall that the tech isn't allowed to go through, and then the AI will not have anything new to scrape to make stuff, so it could become stagnant. That is, unless we reach the singularity and it becomes sentient and Terminators show up. Yeah,
Let's not do that.
Yeah, totally.
Steer
So Terminators are going to show up at our door, and apparently, according to the best skills this AI has, they're going to kill us with haikus.
Perfect. That's how I always thought I'd die. So it makes sense.
Yeah. All right, Jake. Thanks again for coming on the show. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching, for listening, and we'll talk to you next time. Have a fantastic rest of your day.
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you.